between mother and son. Jesus was rejected in Nazareth, but the crowds of Galilee continued to gather around him because of the wonders he performed. His mother and brothers came out to find him. He was making amazing claims about himself. They were afraid he might have gone insane. They tried to get to him through the crowds, but Jesus, still ferocious, wouldn't let them come. He had to establish he was who he was. He had to do what he had to do. When told his mother and brothers were waiting to see him, he responded, "Who are my mother and brothers?" Then he pointed to his disciples and said, "Here are my mother and my brothers, for whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother." To me, these sound like the words of a man fiercely declaring his remarkable stature in the midst of those who knew him as a child. The people of Nazareth asked themselves, "Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother's name Mary? And aren't his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? We saw this kid grow up. How miraculous can he be?" His family must have felt the same way. His mother and brothers and sisters. They knew him as a baby, as a boy, as a brother, as a son. How miraculous could he be? Maybe he'd just gone out of his mind. I know that the wedding at Cana, where Jesus turned the water to wine, is supposed to be the first of his miracles. But I can't help but wonder whether the scene represents a slightly later moment, the moment when Mary, having stored so much that was unbelievable in her heart, finally began to believe, to fully accept the truth about her son, and the moment when he began to relax with her in the knowledge that she would accept his need to do the uncompromising, dangerous, maybe fatal work he had to do. In The Last Temptation of Christ, a daring novelistic retelling of the Gospels, author Nikos Kazantzakis catches this all-too-human mother and son dynamic. He has Mary react in horror when a rabbi suggests to her that Jesus may be a prophet. "Have pity on me, Father," she cries. "A prophet? No, no, I want my son a man like everyone else, nothing more, nothing less." "If God listened to mothers," the rabbi responds severely, "we would all rot away in a bog of security and easy living." That is the last temptation of the title, Jesus' temptation to live out his mother's wish for him, a normal life. He is tempted to marry, to love, to be a man like everyone else, nothing more, nothing less. A man who breaks away from his mother to do the extraordinary is breaking away from himself as well, from her nurturing, which in making him becomes the heart of him, from her maternal fears, which in protecting him become inner limits he has to overcome, from her griefs, which, in his love for her, are his griefs as well. His struggle to become an individual is all the more fierce because that individuality was a gift that flowed from her to him both physically and spiritually. Even after he cuts the umbilicus, the omphalos will always be his core. At first, the exchange between Mary and Jesus at the Cana wedding read strangely to me. It read harshly. She points out to him that the wedding hosts are running out of wine. This would be a social calamity for the hosts. It would disgrace them. Jesus knows she is asking him to perform a miracle. "Woman," he says severely, "what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come." Without another word, Mary turns to the servants. She tells them to do whatever Jesus instructs them, to fill the wine jugs with water, to prepare for the miracle he is about to perform. Then Jesus turns the water into wine, just as she wanted. I see this as the moment when mother and son came to understand and accept one another. In asking him for a miracle, Mary accepted who Jesus was as a man, the unbelievable truth about him that had haunted her since the Annunciation. And Jesus accepted that, well, even when you're a man, your mother is still your mother. She asked for a miracle with an authority over him she could no longer have. He rebuked her. She showed that all the same. She expected him to do what she asked, if not on command, then in filial love. He did what she asked. It's really rather beautiful when you read it that way. After his ferocious youth, when he was willing to walk away from his parents to do his father's business, he softens here because he realizes that Mary has now fully affirmed his vision of himself and his right to act independently. She has shown she knows the truth about his miraculous powers. He has not gone mad. He really is who he says he is. In coming to understand that, Mary must have also begun to understand